For a guy, there's no better season than summer. It's a feast for the eyes everywhere you go. On every street corner, it feels like 9 out of 10 women are showing off their legs, and 8 of them are rocking a tan. You could just find a spot, and people watch all day. But after a while, you get tired of it. Because just looking, with no action, can drive a man crazy. That's why I bought 2 condos in the University District. One for me, one to rent out. They were brand new, fully furnished. So after adding a few appliances, I put the second one on the market. Soon enough, I got my first prospective tenant. Her name was Mia Roberts, a 26-year-old college student. She was tall, with a perfectly proportioned figure and shoulder length, honey blonde hair that gave her an air of sophistication. Hey, I'm Kyle Anderson. You can just call me Kyle. If everything looks good to you, we can sign the lease agreement, I said, holding out the paperwork. Mia glanced around the room, brushing her hair back. The apartment is perfect, I love it. It's just, she trailed off. Is there something you're worried about? I asked. It's just I don't have that much money right now. I can't pay for 3 months rent up front. I was wondering, could I pay the rent in other ways? She asked in a low voice, her face flushing with embarrassment. What other ways? With my body, would that be okay? Mia asked, shifting her weight and biting her lip shyly. Her words hit me like a ton of bricks. Are college students really this direct these days? Look, I'm a decent guy, I said, though my heart was pounding a hole through my chest. What man doesn't like a beautiful woman? Unless he's not into women at all. My mind was screaming yes, but my mouth couldn't bring itself to agree. How about this, Ms. Roberts? I continued. Just pay for however many months you can afford right now, and you can figure out the rest later. You're the first man who's ever turned me down, she said, giving me a thumbs up. It's not just women who say no when they really mean yes. Men are the same way. My mind wanted it, but my mouth refused. My lack of confidence really stemmed from a disastrous first love. Mia's words were like a feather, tickling at my soul. I looked at her thumbs up and suddenly felt my throat go dry. This girl was a master flirt. She was wearing a simple white t-shirt and jeans, but she somehow made it look impossible to tear your eyes away. We can be flexible about the rent, I said, scratching the back of my head. My palms were starting to sweat. Mia tilted her head, her honey blonde hair cascading over one shoulder. You're a really good person, Kyle. I managed a dry laugh, thinking to myself that I wasn't a good person at all. I was just terrified of losing control. After she signed the lease, I helped her move her luggage into the bedroom. I say luggage, but it was just one suitcase and a backpack, hardly enough for a woman to live on. Is this all you have? I couldn't help but ask. Mia was checking the closet and turned around. Yeah, the last place I was staying. It wasn't easy to take a lot of things with me. Her eyes flickered for a second, and I caught the flicker of unease. My gut told me this girl had a story. All right, well, you get settled in. Just let me know if you need anything, I said, taking the hint and backing out, closing the door behind me. Back in my own apartment, I had to chug half a bottle of cold water to calm down. Mia was undeniably beautiful, with a great body, but it wasn't just her looks that made my heart race. She had this contradictory vibe, outgoing on the surface, but with a deep sadness in her eyes. She seemed bold enough to offer sex for rent, yet the tips of her ears had turned bright red when she said it. My phone buzzed. It was a text from my ex-girlfriend, Tiffany. Heard you rented out your other place? I frowned. Why couldn't she just stay gone? I caught her cheating on me 2 years ago, and even after we broke up, she still popped up every now and then to mess with my head. None of your business. I texted back and tossed the phone aside. At 7 that evening, my doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole and saw Mia. She'd changed into a light blue sundress, and her hair was loosely pinned up, making her look even more delicate than before. Kyle, I wanted to thank you. Can I treat you to dinner? She asked, holding up a grocery bag. She bought ingredients to cook herself. I was about to refuse, but my stomach betrayed me with a loud growl. Mia giggled. Sounds like you're hungry too. Her cooking was surprisingly good. It was a simple meal of 3 dishes and a soup, but it was delicious. I scarfed it down while she took small sips of red wine, glancing at me from time to time. Slow down, Kyle. No one's going to steal it from you, she said with a smile. I slowed down, embarrassed. This is amazing. Way better than takeout. You usually eat takeout? Yeah. It's a pain to cook for one, I said offhandedly, then realized how pathetic that sounded. Mia looked thoughtful. I'm on my own. After my mom remarried, I started living by myself. Her tone was flat, but I could hear the loneliness in it. I raised my glass. Well, here's to the lonely landlord and his tenant. The glasses clinked. After a few drinks, Mia's cheeks were flushed, and she started talking more. Kyle, why did you turn me down? Am I not pretty enough? She asked suddenly, her eyes locked on mine. I nearly choked on my wine. No, you're beautiful. It's just what? I had a bad experience. My first love cheated on me. Ever since then, I've had a hard time trusting women, I admitted after a moment's hesitation. Mia's expression became complicated. Not all women are like that. I know, but the scars don't fade that easily, I said with a bitter smile. The mood turned heavy. Mia got up to clear the dishes, and I quickly stood to help. In the cramped kitchen, our arms kept brushing against each other, and every touch felt like a jolt of electricity. Kyle, Mia said, suddenly turning around and nearly bumping into my chest. I'm not really a promiscuous person. I only made that offer because I was desperate. Her eyes glistened under the light, and my heart softened. I get it. If you have problems in the future, just tell me. Don't ever resort to that again, okay? Mia nodded, then suddenly stood on her toes and gave me a quick, light kiss on the cheek. Thank you. The unexpected kiss left me frozen. By the time I snapped out of it, she had already run off, her face beet red. Over the next week, my relationship with Mia shifted into something new. She would coincidentally run into me, which would naturally lead to us having dinner or just talking. I discovered she wasn't just pretty, she was smart. She was a finance major with a real knack for investing. You got a great deal on this condo, Kyle. The property values in this area are going to keep rising, she said one evening, looking over my purchase agreement. How do you know? I interned at a brokerage firm. I know a bit about the real estate market. Look here, she said, pointing to a clause in the contract. She was leaning in close, and the clean scent of her hair filled my senses. I forced myself to focus on her analysis, but my eyes kept drifting toward the collar of her shirt. Kyle, are you listening? Mia asked, waving a hand in front of my face. Huh? Oh yeah, totally, I coughed, embarrassed. Mia looked at me with a half smile. You're blushing, Kyle. It's hot in here, I insisted, which only made her laugh. One night, I was watching a game when Mia knocked on my door, saying the pipe under her bathroom sink was leaking. I grabbed my toolbox and went over. It was just a loose joint. Let's see here. I knelt to inspect it, and Mia knelt beside me. In the cramped space, her thigh pressed against my arm, the warm contact making my heart pound. Can you fix it? She asked. Yeah, easy fix, I said, my voice a bit hoarse as I tightened the fitting. Okay, try it now. Mia turned on the faucet. The leak was gone. She turned back excitedly, but the small space caused her to lose her balance and fall right into my arms. I'm so sorry, she stammered, trying to get up, but her hand accidentally pressed down on my thigh. In that instant, we both froze. It's okay, I said, helping her up, feeling all the blood in my body rush south. Mia's face was as red as an apple. I'll get you a glass of water. I had to take a few deep breaths to compose myself. That girl, she had to be doing this on purpose, right? That weekend, I met up with my friend Dave Miller for a beer. He's a cop, seeing all. How's it going? Heard you rented out your place, Dave asked. Yeah, to a college student, I said nonchalantly. Dave raised an eyebrow. Is she hot? She's all right, I said, trying to play it cool, but he saw right through me. Right? I can tell by your face it's more than all right. How far have things gone? He asked with a smirk. Don't be an idiot. We're just a landlord and a tenant, I said, taking a sip of beer. But she is a little different. I told Dave about Mia's offer to pay rent with her body. His expression immediately turned serious. Kyle, that's a red flag. What kind of regular college student would suggest something like that? Did you run a background check on her? I shook my head. No, I just saw her student ID. Be careful, man. There have been a lot of scams in the university district lately, targeting single guys. They rope you in, get you emotionally invested, then clean you out. Some of them are even tied to local gangs. Dave lowered his voice. A chill went down my spine as I remembered Mia's occasional nervous glances and her unfinished sentences. Then again, maybe she really was just desperate. Either way, keep your guard up, Dave added, seeing the look on my face. On the way home, Dave's words kept replaying in my mind. Could Mia be a con artist? But she seemed so genuine. As I reached my building, I saw Mia talking to a strange man. He was wearing a black leather jacket and had a menacing look on his face. Mia was looking down, seemingly trying to explain something. I instinctively ducked behind a tree to watch. The man suddenly grabbed Mia's wrist, and she struggled. I was about to rush out when he let go, shoved an envelope into her hand, and walked away. Mia stood there for a long moment before slowly heading inside. My mind reeling with questions, I followed her and ran into her at the elevator. Kyle! Mia jumped, quickly hiding the envelope behind her back. Just getting back? I asked, pretending I hadn't seen anything, but my internal alarm bells were screaming. Yeah, just went to the store for a few things, she said, her eyes darting around as she nervously twisted her fingers. We rode the elevator up in silence. As we parted ways at our doors, Mia suddenly said, Kyle, Let me cook for you tomorrow. To thank you for all your help lately. Sure, I said with a forced smile, my mind a chaotic mess. Back in my apartment, I got a text from an unknown number. Stay away from that girl, or you'll regret it. The next morning, my doorbell rang again. I looked through the peephole and saw Mia. She had dark circles under her eyes. She clearly hadn't slept. I opened the door, and she threw herself into my arms, sobbing. What's wrong? I asked, awkwardly patting her back. Kyle, I'm so sorry. I haven't been honest with you, she cried. I led her inside and got her a glass of hot water. She held the cup with trembling fingers. That man you saw yesterday. That was my ex-boyfriend, she began, taking a deep breath. He's been controlling me for a long time, forcing me to scam men out of their money. My stomach dropped. Dave's warning had come true. So, you got close to me for my money? My voice turned cold. Mia looked up, tears streaming down her face. At first, yes, but after getting to know you, I really started to fall for you. You're not like those other men. You've been genuinely kind to me. What about the envelope yesterday? That was my new assignment from him. I have 1 week to get $50,000 from you, Mia said, closing her eyes in pain. I can't do this anymore, Kyle. I want to get away from him. I looked at her trembling shoulders, and my anger slowly gave way to pity. If what she was saying was true, then she was a victim too. Why don't you go to the police? I asked. He has. Pictures and videos of me. He said if I ever went to the cops, he'd post them online and send them to my school. Mia's voice was barely a whisper. I clenched my fists. That bastard. Kyle, I know I have no right to ask you for help, but I honestly don't know who else to turn to, Mia said, looking up at me with tear-filled eyes. I was silent for a long time. My rational mind told me not to get involved in this mess, but looking at Mia's helpless face, I couldn't bring myself to say no. Okay, I'll help you, I finally said, but you have to do exactly as I say. Mia looked at me in disbelief, then threw her arms around me, hugging me tightly. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you. Her body trembled in my arms, the faint scent of her hair filling my senses. At that moment, I knew there was no turning back. Mia cried like a child in my arms, her shoulders shaking. Honestly, I can't stand seeing a woman cry. It throws me into a panic, and the anger I felt about being conned mostly evaporated. Okay, stop crying. Tears won't solve anything. We need a plan. This bastard, your ex, what's his name? What does he do? I patted her back, trying to keep my voice steady. Mia lifted her tear-streaked face. His name is Vince Rizzo. He's just a thug with some pull on the west side. He runs a small loan company, but it's really a loan shark operation. He has several other girls like me. Damn it, what a scumbag. How many guys has he made you scam? I couldn't help but curse. Mia averted her gaze, her voice getting smaller. Just 2. The first was a small business owner. I got $30,000 from him, but then his wife found out and raised hell. Vince got scared and backed off. You were the second. So, I was almost sucker number 2. I laughed humorlessly, not sure if I should feel relieved or furious. Number 2, if it weren't for my cautious nature and the damn baggage from my ex, I might have fallen for a hook, line, and sinker. Kyle, I'm so sorry. She started to cry again. Stop. I held up my hands. Apologies won't help now. He wants $50,000 in a week, right? Fine, we'll give it to him. Mia's eyes widened. What? For real? But the money. Of course not for real. Ever hear of baiting a trap? My mind was racing. He wants money? We'll give him a chance to come get it himself. The question is, are you brave enough to work with me to lure him out? We can end this once and for all. I looked straight at Mia. She bit her lip, tear tracks still on her face, but her expression slowly hardened with resolve. I am. Kyle, if it means getting away from him, I'll do anything. I've had enough. Good. I slapped my thigh. But we can't do this alone. We need backup. The first person who came to mind was Dave. I called him immediately, my voice dead serious. Dave, get over to my place. Now. It's an emergency, a big one. Life or death. On the other end, Dave was yawning. Dude, what time is it? I just got off a night shift. Cut the crap. This is serious. Get over here. I yelled. Less than half an hour later, Dave burst through my door with a bedhead, freezing when he saw Mia on the couch with her red, swollen eyes. He pulled me aside and whispered, Jesus, Kyle, what did you do to her? She's a mess. Get your mind out of the gutter. I punched his arm lightly. Here's what's going on. I told him everything. Mia's story and our fledgling plan. As I spoke, Dave's sleepy expression vanished, replaced by a cold fury. His eyes grew sharp. Damn it, Vincerizzo. We've had our eye on him for a while. Loan sharking, violent collections, running prostitutes, extortion. He's a cancer. I had no idea he was using this kind of sick method to control college students. You're already onto him? That's perfect. You can work with us. Catch him in the act. I said, a surge of hope rising in me. Dave rubbed his chin, frowning. The idea is good, but it's risky. Vince is cunning and ruthless. Getting him to show up for a cash pickup himself? He might not do it. And if he does, he'll bring muscle and be on high alert. So what do? We can't actually give him the money. I said, getting agitated. Of course not. Dave shot me a look. We have to make him think the situation is completely safe, make him lower his guard. Okay, Mia. He turned to her. Does Vince have any specific habits when he contacts you? A favorite meeting spot? A trusted go-between? Mia thought for a moment. He's very cautious. We usually meet at a grimy pool hall near his loan office. It's full of his guys. He rarely picks up money himself. He used to have one of his guys, a guy they call Spike, meet with me. Spike. He got a scar on his face from his eye down to his chin. Dave's eyes lit up. Yes, that's him. Mia nodded. Dave grinned. Well, what do you know? This Spike is an acquaintance of one of our informants. Kyle, we got in. Here's the plan. Have Mia do what we said. Tell Vince she's got the money. But since it's a large amount, you don't trust her with that much cash, and you're demanding an in-person exchange. As for the location, let's use that abandoned salvage yard behind the university district. The terrain is complex, and it's deserted at night. That place, it's pitch black. Isn't that dangerous? I asked, confused. Pitch black is what we want. It's perfect for us to set up surveillance, and for Vince to let his guard down. Dave said, a glint in his eye. Have Mia tell him you picked the location because you're worried she'll take the money and run. Vince knows you're the landlord, that you have some money, and that you're hooked. To secure you as a long-term meal ticket, he'll most likely agree. And he'll come himself, 1, to see what kind of sucker you are, and 2, to intimidate you so you'll keep paying up. As for Spike, I'll have my informant find a way to keep him busy or create some trouble for Vince, so he has to come alone or with minimal backup. Dave was a pro. The plan suddenly sounded solid. Mia and I exchanged a look, both of us seeing a glimmer of hope. Dave, thanks, man, I said, clapping him hard on the shoulder. Don't thank me. Catching scumbags is my job. Dave grinned. Then his expression turned serious. But Kyle, Mia, you have to remember, stick to the plan exactly. No mistakes. Especially you, Mia. Your emotions, your tone of voice, nothing can make Vince suspicious. And when you meet, try to act scared, nervous. Make him feel like he's in complete control. Mia nodded firmly. I understand. The meeting was set for 10 o'clock, 3 nights later. The next 3 days were unbelievably tense. Following Dave's instructions, Mia used a new burner phone to contact Vince. When the call connected and she heard Vince's rough, menacing voice, she visibly flinched. I quickly grabbed her hand to steady her. She took a deep breath, her voice deliberately shaky and sycophantic. Vince, I got the money. Oh, 50 grand? This fast? Vince sounded suspicious. Yes. It's the landlord, Kyle Anderson. I think he really likes me. I told him I had a family emergency, and he loaned it to me. Mia's voice had a hint of pride and shyness. She was a surprisingly good actress. But he said he doesn't trust me with that much cash. He's demanding to give it to you in person. In person? Who the hell does he think he is? Vince sneered. Vince, he's just some idiot with a little money, Mia said quickly. He said if he doesn't see you himself, he won't give up the cash. I was afraid he'd get suspicious, so I agreed. He picked the location. That old salvage yard behind the university district. He said it was quiet there. The line went silent for a few seconds as Vince weighed his options. Son of a bitch. Always got to make things complicated. Vince cursed. Fine. 10 o'clock. The salvage yard. Tell that dumbass to have the money ready. And Mia, if you try to pull any funny business, you know what'll happen. No, never. Vince, I'll get the money for sure. Mia quickly promised. After hanging up, Mia looked completely drained, her back soaked with sweat. I poured her a glass of water, my own stomach churning with anxiety. Dave's team was busy. He had a few trusted officers scout the salvage yard, setting up hidden cameras and listening devices. He also had plainclothes cops positioned in the surrounding area. His informant also came through, creating a minor issue that would coincidentally keep Spike tied up that night. Meanwhile, Tiffany, my ex, was acting weird. She kept texting me, asking if I had a new girlfriend, and trying to subtly ask about Mia. I had no time for her games, so I gave her a few short replies and then blocked her number. Her last text was, Kyle, be careful. Don't mess with people you shouldn't. The message sent a chill down my spine. Did she know something? But I had bigger things to worry about. The hours ticked by, and finally, the third night arrived. 9:30 p.m. at the salvage yard. It was just as Dave described, dark, dilapidated, and eerily silent. The abandoned warehouses loomed like giant monsters, and the ground was littered with rusted machine parts and broken furniture. The air was thick with the smell of rust and dust. A single, dim streetlight in the distance cast long, distorted shadows. I stood in the middle of a relatively open area inside a ruined factory building with Mia, holding a thick manila envelope stuffed with prop money. The night wind was cool, and Mia gripped my arm, her body trembling. It was half acting, half genuine fear. "Don't worry, Dave and his guys are definitely close by," I whispered, though my own palms were sweating. I glanced around, noticing a few unnatural glints in the darkness, probably the hidden cameras. Around 9:50, we heard the sound of an engine. Two blinding headlights cut through the darkness, and a black SUV pulled up to the entrance of the salvage yard. Two men got out. One was built like a tank, wearing a tight black t-shirt, a thick gold chain, and a ferocious scowl. It was Vince. The other was a skinny, tall guy with a buzz cut who looked just as nasty. Vince was carrying a baseball bat. He swaggered toward us, the skinny guy following close behind, his eyes scanning the area. "Vince!" Mia called out timidly, shrinking behind me. Vince stopped in front of us, resting the bat on his shoulder. He looked me up and down, then grinned, revealing a set of yellow teeth. Well, if it isn't the sucker. I mean, Mr. Anderson, looking sharp." I forced a smile. "Mr. Rizzo, I've heard a lot about you. I brought the money." I gestured with the envelope. Vince's greedy eyes fixated on the envelope. "All right, kid, you learn fast. The money? Let's have a look." "Hold on, Mr. Rizzo. The money is yours, no problem. But we need to be clear. Once I give you this, you and me are done, right? You can't bother her anymore." I held the envelope tight. Vince laughed like it was the funniest joke he'd ever heard. The skinny guy snickered along with him. "Kid, are you trying to bargain with me?" Vince pointed the bat at my chest. "This girl is mine. I do whatever I want with her. I'm taking the money tonight. And I'm taking her, too. If you know what's good for you, you'll drop the cash and get lost. Otherwise," he casually bounced the bat in his hand. Mia screamed, hiding behind me and trembling. "Vince, don't push your luck," I shouted angrily, shielding Mia and using my body to block Vince's view of her. "The money's yours, but Mia leaves with me." "With you? Who the hell do you think you are?" Vince was furious now, clearly not expecting a sucker like me to have a backbone. "Spike, teach him a lesson," he yelled at the skinny guy. The man he called Spike grinned viciously and pulled a glittering knife from his waistband, stalking toward me. My heart was in my throat. According to the plan, this was when Dave and his team were supposed to move in. Just as Spike was 2 steps away, the knife about to lunge. "Police! Don't move! Drop the weapon! Vince, you're surrounded!" Several powerful shouts shattered the silence of the salvage yard. Beams from powerful flashlights shot out from all directions, pinning Vince and Spike in the light, blinding them. Instantly, 7 or 8 figures burst out from behind piles of scrap metal and broken crates. Dark pistol barrels were aimed squarely at the 2 thugs. Leading the charge was Dave, in civilian clothes but radiating authority. "Detective Miller." Vince clearly recognized Dave. His face went pale, and the baseball bat fell from his hand with a loud clang. Spike was too scared to move, dropping the knife and instinctively raising his hands. "Vince Rizzo, Spike Gallo, you're under arrest for extortion, unlawful confinement, forced prostitution, and organized crime. We've got you red-handed. Cuff him," Dave commanded. Several officers swarmed forward, efficiently tackling the still-stunned Vince and Spike to the ground and slapping handcuffs on them. "Dave," I let out a long breath, my legs feeling a bit like jelly. Dave walked over and clapped me on the shoulder. "Nice work, Kyle. You've got guts." He then turned to the shaken Mia. "You're safe now, Mia. We've already got the information on the other girls Vince was controlling. They'll be rescued soon. We'll need you to come down to the station to give a detailed statement." Tears streamed down Mia's face, this time tears of relief. She nodded repeatedly. "Thank you. Thank you, Detective. And thank you, Kyle." Watching Vince and Spike get shoved into a police car like sacks of garbage, the flashing red and blue lights illuminating the decaying yard, the knot of fear in my chest finally loosened. The nightmare was finally over. Vince's arrest opened up a whole can of worms. His entire loan sharking and extortion ring was taken down. As a key victim and witness, and with Dave looking out for her, Mia gave a detailed statement to the police. Given that she was coerced and had actively cooperated in the sting operation, and with my testimony to back her up, she ultimately faced no charges for her minor involvement. Dave also had a quiet word with her school, ensuring there were no negative consequences for her. Life in my condo building returned to normal. Mia no longer had to worry about rent. She got a legitimate internship at a company and was busy working long days. But after everything we'd been through, things between us had become a little strange and awkward. The damsel in distress rescue at the salvage yard seemed to have changed things for her. The way she looked at me was different now, filled with gratitude, dependence, and something else I couldn't quite name. And me? After all this time together, especially after facing down danger with her, my feelings for this strong yet fragile woman had long since evolved beyond a simple landlord-tenant relationship. But the shadow of my bad breakup still lingered. I was a coward, afraid to be the first to break the silence. That changed one weekend afternoon. I was sitting on the couch, flipping through a magazine, when Mia came over with a plate of fresh fruit and set on the coffee table. Instead of sitting down like she usually did, she stood in front of me, looking at the floor and twisting the hem of her shirt, as if she'd made a huge decision. "Kyle." "Yeah." I looked up at her. "About the rent. I still owe you a lot," she said, her voice barely a whisper. "Don't worry about that. We can figure it out later," I said with a wave of my hand. "But I promised that I would pay in other ways." She looked up, her cheeks flushing a deep red. Her eyes were sparkling as she looked at me with a mixture of shyness and anticipation. My heart skipped a beat. Those words, this scene, it was all too familiar. You said I was a decent guy." I said, my throat suddenly dry. I remembered our first conversation, and my pulse started to race. "So, Kyle, are you?" She took a tiny step forward, so close I could smell the faint, clean scent of her hair. "Are you still a decent guy now?" The air in the room felt thick enough to cut. I stared at her beautiful, blushing face, at her expressive eyes reflecting my own image. To hell with my cheating ex. To hell with my fear and hesitation. I tossed the magazine aside, reached out, and pulled her into my arms. Mia let out a small gasp, but didn't resist. Instead, she melted against my chest, tilted her head back, and closed her eyes, her long lashes trembling slightly. Only a fool would miss an invitation like that. I lowered my head and found her soft, warm lips. The kiss was full of the relief of survival, the bond of shared experience, and the release of long-suppressed emotions. It started as a gentle exploration, but quickly deepened into a passionate, lingering embrace. Her arms wrapped around my neck, her response clumsy, but full of enthusiasm. The only sounds in the living room were our ragged breaths and the frantic beating of our hearts. I don't know how long it was before we finally broke apart, both of us breathless. Mia's face was as red as a ripe apple. She rested her head on my chest and whispered, "So, does that count for some of the rent?" I held her tighter, resting my chin on the top of her head and inhaling the sweet scent of her hair. A sense of peace and contentment washed over me, something I hadn't felt in a very long time. "Yeah, that covers a good chunk of it," I said with a smile, then put on a serious face. "But the remaining balance, you'll have to pay that off for the rest of your life. And the interest is going to be very high." Mia looked up from my embrace, her eyes filled with a sweet, playful smile. She reached up and playfully poked my nose. "Deal, Mr. Landlord. This tenant plans on sticking around for a lifetime. The interest, you can charge whatever you want." The afternoon sun streamed through the window, warm and bright. Summer wasn't over yet, but that feast for the eyes that once seemed so distracting had suddenly lost all its appeal. Because the most beautiful view in the world was right here in my arms. The end.